5 stay-at-home side hustles you can start now. Almost 10 years ago, I turned a stay-at-home side hustle into a business that literally makes me tens of thousands of dollars a month in passive income. And right now, there are more stay-at-home side hustles and jobs than ever in our history. Since I've been working for myself, starting side hustles and turning them into actual businesses over the last decade, I've learned a lot about what works and what doesn't work. Not only that, but you quickly start to realize there's lots of low-hanging fruit out there that doesn't require much money or effort to get started. Today I'll be going over 5 stay-at-home side hustles that I know you can get into and build some financial independence. The first one has been a popular topic on YouTube over the last couple of years, and that's wholesaling real estate. If you're not familiar with what this is, I'll just quickly explain. This is where you go out and find homes for sale and get them under a purchase contract. You then find someone who is willing to pay a higher price for that same home and assign them the purchase contract, and you pocket the difference. As an example, you may find a house for sale that needs some remodeling work at $200,000, and you put it under contract. You then email the home listing to a bunch of house flippers or contractors and see if someone is willing to give you $220,000 for the contracted house. Now, the great thing about this is you don't need any money to get started because you're not actually buying the home. You're just finding good deals and then putting them under contract and then finding the buyer. This also means you're not taking on a lot of risk either. Now, there has been some changes in this industry recently. Because wholesaling homes has started to become more common, some states have been putting in more regulation, like proof of intent to buy or limiting the number of times you can do this a year. So with the future of wholesaling homes, you may start needing hard money lenders that you work with to first purchase the home and then immediately turn around and sell it to the house flipper. But I personally don't think that should deter you from getting into wholesaling. Even if you need a hard money lender, they are not that difficult to find. You'll essentially just need to budget in the fees of the hard money borrowed and the title company used for the future deals. Okay, let's move on to the next home-based side hustle that I think is one of the absolute best opportunities out there, and that's to become a mortgage broker. The beauty of being a mortgage broker over being a real estate agent is you not only can take on home buyers as clients, but you can also take on people just refinancing their homes. And honestly, this job is way easier than being a real estate agent. Think about it. You're not out staging and showing homes. You're not dealing with driving around with picky buyers who don't know what they want. Your whole job is to help a buyer find lending, and then it's up to them to find the home that they want to purchase. Once you're in this for just a little while, you can have a long list of lenders you work with where you simply send your client's application and then you present your client with the best deal. Most loan brokers also only work standard 9 to 5 weekday hours, standard banking hours. This is because their job revolves around them working directly with banks and lawyers. So all that being said, now let's talk about how well they are paid. As a loan broker, you're looking at getting a 1% commission off of the value of the home loan. So if your client buys a $400,000 house, you make $4,000 for what was probably very little work. When I was living in Colombia, I met a loan broker that came down to visit that was making over $400,000 a year. So I know this is something you can scale into a very good paying income. Now, if you're learning something from this video, please smash that like button. As a reward for hitting the like button, I'll not only be sharing more of the best side hustles I recommend, but I'll also be telling you what free software you can use to do them. This is free software I personally use for a lot of my work, and that's with the understanding that putting out professional quality work is important to me. And honestly, the free version is so good, I haven't even needed to buy the paid version. Okay, let's move on to the next stay-at-home side hustle you can get started right away, and that's doing voiceover work. There are a lot of people who are looking to turn their written text into audio, and this hustle generally pays much better than being the one who is actually writing the original content. And honestly, this does not take some incredible skill set that takes years to develop. What it does take is a decent microphone and some free editing software to get started. Me personally, if I was to start getting into this, I'd spend the money to get a lower-end professional microphone that ranges between $250 to $400. With that amount of money, you can get a really decent microphone. And then I'd use the free version of a software program called DaVinci Resolve to edit and time the audio. This is some of the free software I promised to mention. Now, DaVinci Resolve is video editing software, but it also has really powerful audio editing software included in the free software version, like unbelievably powerful free software. And even though it's video editing software, you can still export audio files as just MP3s. I see voiceover experts charging between 35 cents to $1 per word, and then they will usually charge additional for licensing rights or faster turnaround times. So you can see how doing voiceover work for just one written page of text a day can make you between $300 to $400 a day. What I really like about this is it seems way more profitable and sustainable than being a writer. Writing original content usually doesn't pay as much per word and can often require a lot of research. With voiceover, after you get your equipment and editing dialed in, you can bust out audio for clients with barely any thought and make great money. Okay, let's move on to the next side hustle, and that's being a YouTube channel manager. As you can see, I have a YouTube channel, and even though I've only been doing this for less than a year, I've met a lot of other YouTube influencers. And one of the biggest things we discuss is hiring people to help with the channel. Essentially, every YouTuber could use help with their channel. Honestly, as a creator, it's really hard to scale a channel on your own. YouTube is starting to get more competitive, which means you really need to be posting as much as other channels in your space if you want to continue growing. And the level of video and editing quality has really gone up compared to even just a couple years ago. Now, I'd say it's still at a level where most people can do an okay job on their own in most niches, but oftentimes the level of work required for one person can easily lead to burnout. So I'll tell you what YouTubers are needing because these are the same things I'm currently looking for in a YouTube channel manager. YouTubers can use help finding and researching topics for their videos. Even beyond that, a lot of YouTubers need scripts written for their videos. To give you an idea, I write out every single word I say in my videos, and writing scripts for the video is very different than writing articles. To write video scripts, it needs to sound pretty similar to how people naturally speak, which can take a lot of practice. Now, this really starts to be difficult for people who have English as a second language, which means if English is your first language and you have a talent for writing scripts, you can charge more. Another thing YouTubers need help with is the editing of their videos. I previously mentioned a free video editing software called DaVinci Resolve. This is the exact software I use to edit my videos. About a year ago, I switched away from Adobe products because they used a subscription model. DaVinci Resolve is essentially just as powerful as Adobe's film editing software, and they have a free version that is more than enough for editing YouTube videos, in my opinion. Another thing that YouTubers need is someone who makes thumbnails. I personally use a program called Affinity Photo for this. I used to use Photoshop for all my photo editing for almost 20 years, but recently switched to Affinity Photo because the software has a one-time price. But I'd say with a little practice, you can master all of these skills and do them from home. Okay, so I have another side hustle for you. This one I've actually seen several friends do while living abroad. Even one of my American roommates when I was living in Mexico was doing this for a pretty long time. And that's teaching English as a second language online. If you speak English as your first language, this is one of the absolute easiest side hustles you can get into. I honestly can't stress how easy of a job this is. It doesn't take any new skills you don't already have, and the barrier to entry is super low. All you need is a computer with one of those little video call cameras and be able to show up to your scheduled appointments. That's essentially it. You're mostly teaching young kids over in China who have a very basic fluency in English, but the lessons are all put together for you. You're essentially there to just cheer them on as they go through it. Maybe you'll help them with the pronunciation of a word here or there that they're struggling with. My roommate was making between $18 to $20 an hour down in Mexico doing this, which is pretty good money when you're down there. Now, listen carefully to this. Not only can you make a real living doing this, but I'd even say if you're down and out and watching this video wondering how you're going to make that extra couple $1,000s you need to get through the next couple months, I really think this is a great gig for you. It's easy to get into, it's easy to do, and you set your own schedule. You probably already have the equipment you need for it as well. There are so many benefits to starting a home-based side hustle that you can eventually grow into your own business. I've been fortunate enough to be working for myself for the last 8 years, and I honestly can't ever imagine going back to working for somebody else. And honestly, I'm really hoping I can help you accomplish that for yourself as well. The beauty about being your own boss goes way beyond being able to decide when you wake up in the morning. It's about not having a ceiling to how large you can build that business or how much wealth you can create. Don't let your existing comfort kill your dreams. I don't care if you have a great job you enjoy. You should always have a side hustle that you're trying to scale into a new revenue source. My side hustles let me reinvent myself in some ways. This YouTube channel is a perfect example of that. I wasn't a YouTuber a year ago. I didn't even know how to edit and upload a video before I started this channel. Now, this side hustle makes me a surprising amount of money and has really empowered me in growing my other businesses. You can do the same. Go ahead and smash that like button. Smashing that like button is really the best way to help others find out about these side hustles and the free software I mentioned. If you haven't yet, become part of the family and click subscribe, and you guys have a great day.